Welcome to Enlightened AF. I am one of your hosts. My name is Tricia Carr, and I have my dear friend here with me, who is also a host.
Demarest.
Aidan Demarest.
Host with the most.
You have the most?
Yeah. Meaning you. I have
Why?
you.
Why? Oh, sorry. That's me doing that.
Keep playing it.
We're starting off with a bang.
We were jamming to our beat.
We're jamming to our own
Thank you,
music.
Brian, for that music.
Brian Carr music.
Killed it.
This podcast is. I don't know where that's coming from.
Is it your phone?
It's you.
Oh, I'm playing.
We are so professional.
Look at that. I can
But turn down the volume, dingy.
Somebody needs to work the magic.
I can't believe I'm the blonde one. Seriously. I thought that the gingers were supposed to be somehow superior to the blondes.
No, dumb as pox.
So let me tell you about this podcast. It is called Enlightened AF because
Yes,
we are enlightened and we are as fuck. I guess.
We are very enlightened.
I mean, I would say
aggressively enlightened.
We're aggressively enlightened.
Yeah, that's it.
We are, I say this is a comedy kind of based, comedy themed podcast.
We are spoon feeding America woo woo enlightenment.
Ooh.
You like that?
Yeah.
Boom. You're welcome.
So I have a lot of people who actually don't need it spoon fed to them because, we're super hardcore into it, like channeling 6-dimensional benevolent star beings and stuff. You know who you are. You know who you are watching me. I have a podcast that if you guys are just catching Enlightened AF, my show is called Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. Aidan has actually come by as a guest a couple of times.
Yes, I have.
Or
Which
one
was
time.
fun.
Yeah.
Right? One time?
We talk about hardcore stuff there, seriously about deep metaphysical spiritual topics. But here, we like to talk about it in a fun way.
Yes.
Aidan likes to think that we are basically witnessing to the middle of America where the woman is drinking a goblet of Chardonnay and the husband is pulling his britches up, and both of them like our show, right?
Right. Yes.
Isn't that how you characterize them?
I think it was. I said something about a yoga mat and a pitcher of beer. I think it was.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the crowd we love.
And that could be vice versa. The guy and the girl.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There's lots of girls that like beer.
Well, today we wanted to talk about ghosts.
Yes.
True ghost stories.
I like that topic. Good call.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with ghosts a lot. Well, I actually don't work with them a lot as an intuitive, as a psychic, as a medium, because I don't need to. They can just bye-bye. And when I say ghosts, I mean consciousnesses, former humans who have dismissed their physical form and are still just hanging out, just chilling in the place where they ain't supposed to be anymore, because they're supposed to cross over into the higher dimensions and cross over into the light, as we say.
Okay, so now
that
would be ghost. I like that visual. The ghost, a ghost would be. I want the technical thing for you, because that wouldn't be like your spirit guide is not a ghost, right?
Exactly.
So how is there a difference where they're up higher somehow and these ones are stuck? Like the whole Beetlejuice thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like the word stuck, but yes, that is exactly it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So here's the deal with those particular entities is that some of them that are existing in that plane of existence is really like 4D. It's essentially this plane, but without physicality. It's the overlay of this that is non-physical.
Yeah.
So when we first die, when we dismiss the physical form, the consciousness separates from the physical form, then we're just here without a body. That happens to everyone. That's the first thing that happens.
And they just stay here?
Yes, and it typically happens, like the reasons that they would stay here is because we're a completely free will universe, so you don't have to cross into the light. And typically the reason it's presented to everyone, but people might be fearful of hell, of punishment, or just, it usually has to do with their beliefs, or if they're just kind of spinning already in some kind of insanity, because nothing changes. You don't become wiser. You just become free of a physical form.
And then you're just wandering around. Okay. So, all right. So that would be a ghost in that period.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And then so that it would not be, like we talked to people and you talked to, I've certainly had some interactions with what I consider like, spirit guides, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like people, like that's a big thing in this whole woo-woo world, right? Spirit guides. Those aren't ghosts.
No, exactly. I mean, words are words, but
what are they doing down here?
For the sake of
muddling around with
the
people's
spirit guides?
Problems. Yeah.
Well, that is one of the
Troll
jobs.
freaks.
They want to watch you in the shower.
Just can't let it go. Because that would be my family.
Control
All
freaks.
of my dead family are just holding on to the apron strings. I'm sure they're all still there.
Well, it is a job. Actually, so when we cross over into the light, essentially we go through this portal of light, which is actually your own soul vortex. It's actually one of the higher chakra just above the physical body. Above the crown chakra is our soul star chakra. The light is actually you. It's your own creation. It's your own portal to the light.
Why does it always have to be light? Okay, there's another thing. Okay, a lot of this has a lot of smacks of Christianity, right? Of the Bible version of dying, right? Going up through the stairs, big guy in a white robe, into the light.
Well, the Bible has some truth in it. All sacred texts, I don't know. That's kind of a broad statement. No, I haven't read all of the sacred texts, but I would say many, if not all, sacred texts have a lot of truth in them. They have part of the truth. I have part of the truth. I'm a walking sacred text right now. I didn't mean to
digress into that. It goes back to our religious thing last week.
Yeah.
But it does feel like that, and it's odd to me. The one thing I can say before I even went on this journey, a little bit more spiritual, considering other alternative ideas about the universe, energy, power, and everything. I always found it fascinating that ancient cultures up to now, and in the Bible, which I consider a very modern version of stories, and Mayan, everything, the Celts, they all sort of have a very similar story,
right,
about angels, some sort of other being,
right,
somebody takes you along for the ride, you know what I mean, meaning from death up to somewhere else.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
when we're talking about ghosts today specifically, we're talking about people down here.
Yes, but you asked about what are the spirit guides doing? Why can't they mind their own business?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, when we have crossed over and we've received and we've gone through this healing process, which is the life review, which we could talk about another time if we want, and then there are all kinds of things we can do while we're in those higher dimensionalities, which is one could be that you just plan your next incarnation. Another could be that there's literally schools going on there. Like you could take classes in university and stuff like that.
Great. That'd be great. I'd die and I'm
and you're in ninth grade
period. Again. Boo, I hate this whole plan. We just lost everyone under 22 for a listener.
All of the millennials.
Oh, yippee. I'd be at PCC. Boo. Having to make up that geometry class I never took.
Pasadena City College, for those of you who are not local.
Bust.
Well, this is one of the reasons why. So that is a job. Is that you could be
learning enough now? I certainly hope I don't have to go.
You do learn a lot. But here's while we're on that side, if we choose to take the job of a spirit guide, well, it's timeless in eternity, right?
Another thing I don't want to do after death: take any jobs. I'm hoping this is a retirement plan. Everything you're talking about sounds like work, school. Wait, is there a chain gang that you can get thrown on?
So your plan is to ascend as a master.
Retire.
All right. Get to work then.
I do not want to come back. Keep an eye on my kids. Make sure they don't fall off a building. Anything.
Yeah. Till death do us part with the kids, too,
I have been doing that already.
Yeah. All right. So.
But I'll probably will, just because I'm saying this.
But I think you'll appreciate this. In that timeless space, the idea is to continue to experience and grow and, learn and evolve, right? Always. Yes. We're never going to be done evolving.
Right.
And so one of the benefits of being a spirit guide is that you are actually attached to a time-oriented being. You're observing a time-oriented being gives you more of a sense of time and more of a sense of growth. Imagine if you're trying to evolve in timelessness. You know what I mean? Kind of like when the sirens took the sailors over and they thought they'd been there for 2 days and they'd been there for 10 years. Right. It felt like nothing had happened. They were in an open space that was less time oriented. And so they actually grow. So our spirits guides actually grow by working with us.
I believe that.
Yeah, and you'll feel them change. Sometimes I'll see in my mind's eye, clairvoyantly, that mine looks different one day.
Yes.
They'll grow. Sometimes they'll just be taller in my perception of them. Yes. Sometimes they'll be
totally
a different being, but I can still feel their essence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you like that?
I love that. That was a good description.
Okay.
And so for layman's terms, there we go. For me, it is spirit guides and ghosts are two different things.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Ghosts are people without bodies.
Right.
That's it. And
there is a certain feeling that ghosts are stuck.
Yes, well,
that they have not evolved enough.
It's not that they're actually nothing's going to happen
while they're here. Workers of the spiritual plane.
They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to be here, so they're actually not getting any better. They're not evolving because the point of being in this plane of existence, they're in the one that's overlain to it, is to be physical. And that is actually the thing that is helping you to evolve. So they don't evolve. They actually tend to, if they stay there time on end, they start to loop and they become less of who they are because their personality starts to kind of fall away. Think of like an elderly person. As we age, we kind of become a concentration of our peaks in our personality, right? And some of the nuances kind of fall away if you've ever known a really old person.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
Like sometimes if it's...
They have no apologies for
someone's
just
a
the
jerk.
Worst characteristics.
Right. Or no, but sometimes like I've known a woman...
super sweet.
Super sweet, right? And that's all she is. And she doesn't have a salty word for anyone anymore. Yeah, there's less nuance. Well, that's what happens.
One I'll be.
I don't know. I'm just scared.
Keep away from that.
You're just going to become...
I think sweet.
You're just going to become like a dildo.
Super sweet. I wish. No old men become just dildos.
You're going to like...
They just become sort of
instead of turning
flaccid.
into a pillar of salt, you're just going to turn into a pillar of latex.
Hey,
that's my vision of Aidan.
I'm not mad at that at all. If that was my plan. Okay, so ghost story. I want to hear your I want to hear your ghost.
You go first because I don't know. I have so many, and they don't seem like a big deal to me. So I'm gonna.
Me either.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what's weird.
But
And when we talked about this,
let's tell people 323-524-2599. Call in. Aidan loves callers.
I love callers.
Call in and share your ghost stories.
Tell
that
me
includes
your ghost story.
all of my friends who are professional psychics and intuitives. I would love for you to call in and share. Or if you are anyone who's had some experience with paranormal or ghostly stuff, because we would love to hear it. And I would love to feel into it and analyze it for you and, read it.
Or any of my shut-in friends, if the guy at the front desk will let you use the phone.
323-524-2599. What shut-ins? What are you talking
Just
about?
all the people I know.
They're all shut in?
They're all institutionalized.
Oh, okay.
See if you can get phone privileges and give us a call.
If you get Aaron, who is our producer, Aaron, if you get one of those recordings that says like,
accept the charges.
We accept the charges from the state penitentiary. That's for Aidan.
That'd be my dad. That's always the
Actually, well, you know what? Speaking of, I'm going to go ahead and start then. Speaking of dads.
Yes.
When my father passed.
Right.
My dad was a very sick man with alcoholism and just like disease, like mental disease.
Right.
And he actually said his whole life that he was going to hell. And he had this strong belief that he was going to hell because he thinks he's a terrible person. He lived a terrible life. And there are some people who would agree, the ones who he beat up and stuff, like my mom. But anyway, no, I'm just giving you guys a peek into my background. So he...
Ward Cleaver.
Yeah, exactly. That's not exactly. So my father, he was in his passing process. It was clear. He had like his 99th stroke. And he had emphysema and, no liver. His liver had just dropped out like 20 years earlier.
From his body.
Yeah, I was like, ah!
Yeah, I've had that liver. Just, no.
Yeah.
How does he keep waking up?
It's just mutiny. And so it was, and he also banged his head when he had the stroke. So his his brain was swelling. So he was clearly going. So I knew his belief system, not system even, I knew his belief, the one. And I was concerned that he was going to get stuck, as we say. He wasn't going to accept moving forward because he has these hellfire and brimstone American Christian beliefs
Super
of going to hell.
Right? Yeah.
Well, not really. Just from the South, you know what I mean? Like
All
just
right.
it bleeds into you.
Yes.
It's a disease you catch. That kind of religious stuff.
Lord help you.
And so, I actually called on a lot of prayer warriors. So you guys know prayer works. And there are scientific studies that say we don't know why. It must be some kind of placebo effect. But people that don't know they're being prayed for improve. It is actually manipulating energy on the metaphysical or the quantum physical level. It is highlighting, placing awareness on a certain kind of energy, and that expands it. And so that's why prayer works. Prayer not in the sense of please, please, please. That's actually recognizing the lack of something, but affirming by proxy for someone's well-being when you're praying for someone. And so I called on prayer warriors, meaning my friends, all of my woo-woos, and said, we need to pray for my father, that he will cross over when his time comes. And so the day before he officially passed, I'm in California, he's in Texas, and my sisters are all there in Texas. I was driving along over the canyon, actually, and my body suddenly went, oh, and I knew that he had popped out of his body. His consciousness had dismissed his body and was not going back in.
Wow.
And I just knew it. I could feel it. I knew it. But his body wasn't expired, so his body was still alive. And my sister actually called me. It happened at 1:11, which is a very magical number. And my sister called me, and I said, he's not going back into his body. She said, I felt that too. My sisters are all very naturally psychic and stuff too, even though they don't specifically do it. So that was that one day. So essentially he's a ghost now, even though his body isn't dead yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And because the thing is, the body doesn't need, they aren't mutually inclusive.
So now
the consciousness doesn't need the body.
Right, I get you. So he has left his body.
And he was just in the room, and he didn't really realize that he was not going back into his body, but I knew it. I could feel there was something different that happened, and he was just kind of tripping. He just thought he was tripping on drugs or something. And he was like,
that's not bad.
You know, I reached out to him, and I told him, I was like, Daddy, when it happens.
You are physically with him now?
No, I was never physically with him.
Oh, okay.
But I was,
right.
psychically, communicating, intuitively connecting with him.
Do you think somebody who's not psychic could have experienced that?
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Well, everyone is psychic.
Agreed.
That's the thing.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, but I do have specific skills that I have honed in order to trust them, but everyone is psychic. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think everybody would agree with that, even the biggest cynic.
Of course, I hope so. I mean,
no, there's plenty of people that would be like, no, that's just all bullshit.
Well, here's the thing. The word psych, the root just means non-physical. That's why it's used in psychology. And psychiatry. It's referring to the mental and emotional energy. So
right, even somebody arguing that point would be like, well, I had a strong feeling about this or that, something they couldn't possibly
gut
have.
Feeling. That's acceptable.
My instincts, like even the most hard-nosed guys thinks he has super strong instincts about people and stuff like that. He's really reading them.
Of course, yeah, exactly. It's the non-physical energy that you're reading.
Right,
and so. So when I reached out to him, I was like, Daddy, when it's time, when you go, I want you to know to go into the light, and I will take care of you. I will be there with you. And he's like, and I remember him saying to me, oh, baby girl, you're going to be my angel. Are you my angel, baby girl? And I was like, that's what you called me. And I was like, yes, sure, Daddy, I'm your angel. Okay. So just know you can find me. All right.
Yeah.
And then the next day when I went into meditation, his body was still alive. He showed up in my meditation like, whoa. And he was like in my face, freaking the fuck out, because now he knew he wasn't going back into his body. He could tell. And he didn't know, because maybe he had tried. I don't know. He couldn't figure it out. He was scared, and he knew it was time. And first thing I did was I put up this big wall of light, because I was like, I need to chill. I was like, I can't abandon him, because I said that I would be there for him, and he needs me. By the way, in physical life, my dad and I don't really have that much of a close relationship. We had only started to connect over the last 5 years, occasionally.
Right.
And so I put up some light, and I just kind of centered myself, and then it's basically allowed him back in, and I literally held his hand. I mean, not literally, spiritually. I mean, but in my mind's eye, it was very literal.
Yeah.
I held his hand. I talked to him about how I was like, how your mother, mom, Nanny's been coming through, and your dad, and and all of these animals were there, because he was an animal lover like me. And I walked him to the light, and I told him just focus on me, and that it was okay. And I told him everybody gets to go home to God. Nobody gets punished. You get to go home to God, and everything's going to be okay. Just go follow your mama. And he did. He crossed over.
Oh, cool.
And so what was crazy was, while I was in that meditation, I gotten 2 texts, both from psychics. I had no idea how long I was in that meditation, or wasn't paying any attention to it.
Right.
But I gotten 2 texts, one at the very end of it. They were both from, like I say, psychics, people who had been praying for us and everything. And then as I came out later that day, or not, like an hour or so later, my sisters were calling me, and I said, hey, listen, because I could look at the timestamp. I said, Daddy crossed over at 8:40. Is that when you guys decided to unplug them? And my sister's like, that's exactly when we decided to unplug him.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. Well, that's how he was then observing, and he was like, oh shit, they're letting go of my body. And everyone was, he's aware of what's going on in the room, and everybody's saying goodbye and everything. And then it took 6 hours for his body to actually expire. But he crossed over before his body was technically dead.
Wow. That's very cool. And did he ever come back?
I felt his presence a little bit. His life review process is kind of rough. I think he's got a lot to heal from. In some readings that I've gotten, you can kind of feel his essence way, way, way back in the background of my field, but he's busy right now.
Yeah. Ooh. Hopefully not digging coal.
No. It doesn't happen that way. But that's what I'm saying.
According to his belief system.
No, nobody crossed over into the light.
Oh, to the light. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he crossed over.
So what happens if you cross down into the dirt?
You don't. There's no such thing. That's just here. That's just living your own insanity.
I've said that frequently, that we are already at hell. You're not going anywhere down from here.
Exactly. And I think that there are cooperative energies of darkness that are creating shitty realities, and they're all dancing with each other. Why not? If I can imagine it, then it can be. But you're not punished. There's no punishing, overriding presence that says you must be going there. It's you. It's always us.
Yeah.
We create ourselves and we save ourselves and we punish ourselves.
Yes, and create that reality and write that story. So whenever you hear about a ghost story, I mean, first of all, I grew up in Massachusetts, in just south of Salem, and I also grew up on summers in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which I don't know why. The older the place, the more stories there are.
Yeah.
In fact, the houses, where I grew up is in every horror movie. I grew up in Amityville. Like the house looked like it. Eve's.
It's a coincidence that you were there.
Right? Yeah. And so every house, and the houses on the street are from 1678, 1689, and the Mayflowers are at the dock at the bottom of the street.
That's when they were doing. That's where they were doing a bunch of that Salem witch trial crap.
Yes, all of it.
Dark.
So I grew up with a rich history of ghost stories. There were tons of haunted houses, which I think legitimately were. So when I think about ghosts, I'm thinking like doors slamming, book hitting you in the head, cat getting squished by the refrigerator, like those kind of stories, like houses that are haunted and like entities living in poltergeist, all that stuff.
Poltergeist is a different thing too, slightly, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was like a
There's
very
also
real. When we started talking about ghosts, and it's coming up on Halloween, so like real good, like good old spooky, scare your ass off ghosts, not like. And I have a couple of...
My daddy went into the light.
My Aunt Mary, like arriving on the porch and knitting for a little while. Like that, which is like half memory, half energy, and, for me. But like good old-fashioned, like that house freaks me out. And I've had a few of those. And that's where I went to, like a few places where I wasn't... Because I've had plenty of stories, and I'll differentiate for me. Like, I've told this story before. I was born when my grandfather died. He died while my mother was pregnant with me, and I was born a few months later.
Okay.
And I grew up with this presence all around us all the time.
Your grandfather.
Yes. Super clear that there was somebody showing me where the Christmas ornaments were, stuff I couldn't know, history about my mom and grandmother that I knew and I could never have known.
I knew you were a medium.
Oh, shut up. That's not it. It just happens to everybody.
He thinks he's
that
too
and the
cool.
monogamous thing are just labels I'm not taking. Anyway, no, but yeah, like he was just always around us, and it was a big part of my job to be a conduit for him to them.
Oh, you haven't told me this. This is awesome. You were the medium for your family.
Well, because he was really sticking around to make he was definitely stuck around. So he stuck around all my childhood to be sure that they were safe, specifically my mom and grandmother and my sisters. It was a house full of women. And he had left abruptly, and I was born. So it was like really clear, and also just the breakdown of my family dynamic, which had some issues going on. So it was my job to keep things happy in the house, and it focused around the holidays and everything. But he was super present, and would literally be sort of physically present around Christmas and make sure that I, even as a little kid, like put up the Christmas tree right.
Wow.
And it wasn't my doing. I wasn't much of an OCD kid, but these weird things would happen. And this old post-World War II guy I would put things together, like a Christmas tree holder out of a spare tire in the base thing, because my dad was not all that present. And my grandfather sort of, I don't know, whatever. He haunted us around the holidays, and things fell together every year. Very my grandmother was terrible at Christmas. My mother was great at Christmas, but pretty emotional, and so I became this like little Christmas elf that I really felt commanded by somebody else.
Wow.
And he was around all the time. Like there would be like ribbon and a box of stuff, and I would be wrapping up presents at like 10.
Do you remember, like, were you hearing him? Were you seeing him? Were you just, he was just moving through you, and there was just, it's like claircognizance means like you just have a knowing.
Yeah, it was like a knowing, but I also knew what like things should taste like, and things should like, because I cooked, and so, I mean, like we put Christmas together him and I put Christmas together for my family every year.
Wow.
Super clearly. And my mom and sisters, my family were involved, and I was a kid, but I took way more responsibility on it and it wasn't me. At the end of Christmas, I'd be like, whew, like, can I have my body back?
Yeah.
That,
like, want to smoke a cigar, your little 10-year-old. Like,
that's the warm toasty story. But I also went to, here's childhood story. It's the first time I felt a ghost, saw a ghost, had a ghost experience. Down in Florida, we went every year to see my other crazy side of the family, legit. And we're down in Sarasota, Florida, and my grandmother takes me to the Ringling Barnum and Bailey Museum. And the place is just so fucking haunted. It's ridiculous. Like, every time you come around a corner, you're just, I mean, I guess if you're going to say like I'm picking up on shit, I mean, there was just spooks and freaks everywhere.
Yeah,
it was the
creepy.
spookiest place. And I basically got like sort of picked on by ghosts the whole thing. And and it was great. Like, it was cool. I was like super fascinated, but they were everywhere. That place was haunted. For sure.
Yeah.
Like all kinds, like, like super creeper. And it wasn't supposed to be a haunted place. It was supposed to be this circus.
Circuses are so creepy.
Creepy, yes.
Yeah.
And so there's clowns and all the things that would scare a kid. But I remember being like, and I was probably 10. And I was like, this motherfucker is haunted. Like Eddie Murphy. I was like, okay, we go. like you know that movie in his comedy bit about like how there's never been a black family that would ever have moved into a haunted house.
Yeah.
Open the door, get out. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, they're more supposedly they say they're more scared. And there's actually this really funny YouTube viral video where there was a person, it was like a Halloween, and they were sitting there on the scarecrow. Like a scarecrow is supposed to look like a dummy, and then this guy's walking up, a black guy, and he goes like, rawr, and he goes like, oh poo, oh poo.
It just beats the shit out of it.
Or like when David Blaine.
Oh, they always go into
David Blaine comes to do like tricks for black people. They're always like, oh no, and they start running around.
Oh, God.
Like, no.
It's true that I'm the same. I would never. Whenever I'm watching a scary movie, I'm like, okay, the scary house that just lurched to the side a little bit and music played that was scary. No thanks. The movie's over.
I'm not
no
interested.
Thanks. Not selling Girl Scouts here.
Not selling Girl Scouts.
It's always like ding dong.
Yeah, or the creepy kid thing. Well, first of all,
so anyway, let me finish that thought.
Well, I want to tell you that I think your grandfather was a spirit guide, not a ghost.
Yes,
but go ahead.
Exactly. So I was making that comparison.
Oh,
no,
gotcha.
because he wasn't lurking around thingamajig, and that was a lot of physical and emotional stuff. And but the Ringling thing, was definitely ghosts. That and my other ghosty story is at the Roosevelt Hotel here in Hollywood, which has long history. It has all these stories, and I think it's been on one of those ghosty shows, like Ghost Searchers or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But I managed it, and I was fairly a ghost myself since I was always sort of shit-faced.
Yeah, so
I worked there.
You were basically.
But I haunted the halls of that place for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But not shit-faced. I was at work one night, and the place was supposedly haunted by Marilyn Monroe. And there was in my office was a Marilyn Monroe mirror that had been in the suite she lived in that's down by the pool. And there's pictures of her, famous picture of her by the pool at the Roosevelt. And it's like this. Anyway, I'm in the place. I'm in the spare room, the bowling alley upstairs, and I told this story all the time. And I'm up there, and I'm closing down. No one's in there, and I am for a rare moment not shit-faced. Night's over, whatever, and I hear this woman laughing, like super fun party laughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's still people in here somewhere. And I'm searching all around the room. And I can hear really clear. And it's an old hotel. Like, there's echoes. Things could happen. But it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's just so clearly happening like this in my room. And it's if you know the place, it's like you can't, there's nowhere else connected to it.
Right.
It's really up and away.
Yeah.
And like, it's just so clear. And I finally get to the back. I get the lights back on. And I'm like, okay, and it wouldn't be improbable for somebody to be in there. It's still having some fun. But I get back there. There's no one there, but this super cold rush of air goes over me. Like that whole temperature, like sort of thing you hear, like really clearly, which was not something that happened. It wasn't air currents or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just so clear that I was not alone. And I was all the hair on my body was like on edge.
I just got chills too.
Super on edge. And I didn't get freaked. It wasn't unfriendly, but it was I was freaked, but I wasn't frightened.
Yes.
And it was like super, I got like adrenaline was like a super high. I could hear a pin drop anywhere in. And it was just clear that this very feminine thing, and I don't, Marilyn Monroe or whoever it was.
I don't think it's Marilyn. I'll tell you.
I don't either. Walking with me. And it is a creepy old place. That place has been there. Not creepy, but it's this beautiful old hotel.
Right.
With a lot of history. And you could easily see somebody getting stuck in there.
Right. Well,
that's my creeper story.
That's pretty cool.
Fired or not.
I love the laughing and I love the chills.
It was super party fun, and you know me, I head towards a party and fun.
Yeah.
It was disappointing to find out there was not a body at the end of it.
Right, exactly. I don't need you to laugh at me while I masturbate. I mean, I could just I would go home to my wife.
Right? How about getting haunted by super porno ghost?
Oh, they would be so frustrated because they couldn't do anything.
Why? It would be super sensual. I could get into that.
All right, so let me tell you.
Getting hit on by a ghost all the time?
Let me tell you a couple of things about that. Another caveat to this is that
turn it dirty.
There's also something. There's also
I want a porno ghost.
There's also thought form energy. Thought form is a secondary creation. So this is essentially when we, like I was just saying, we have. We pray and we expand a certain kind of light energy.
Okay.
If we repetitively continue to think thoughts toward a specific focus, again, with quantum physics, then that expanded energy actually starts to collapse, and that's how things become formed. Particular. Things that go from waves to particles in this process of becoming non-physical to physical. So thought form is a sort of in between where you've thought something so much, and maybe a lot of people, that it actually becomes somewhat formed. And sometimes an entity, a dark entity of some kind, will attach to it and allow it to become more even, kind of inhabit it and work through it.
Yeah, okay.
This is why things like the boogeyman, where people have mass sightings of the same thing, that's why that kind of stuff happens.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think that there is a thought form energy that reminds people of Maryland because they are all thinking Maryland haunts that place. And so someone masquerading maybe a little bit as
Which is on Hollywood
Maryland.
Boulevard, across from Grauman's Chinese Theater. All of the things.
Yeah.
Just like Charlie Chaplin is haunting like 90% of the houses in L.A.
That's my personal opinion too, is because I've actually connected with Marilyn on the other side.
Okay.
She's on the other side personally. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that there couldn't be people or things, I should say, entities masquerading as her, because there is this
There
belief
wasn't.
in this desire.
To me, it was, for some reason that mirror was there, and they said that was haunted. But it's always, it was just a female form, and I wouldn't know what Marilyn Monroe laughing sounded like compared to anybody else. Mm-hmm. I didn't get any kind of feeling of that. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting that there was a lot of haunted sort of stories, and that I could see how a collective unconscious would put together Marilyn, since there's giant billboards of her up and down that street.
Sure.
And there may be something in there. In fact, I would say there is. I most definitely had probably one of the clearest feelings that I was not alone in that room. And I wasn't necessarily, I'm not spooked by being in the dark or alone, or, you know what I mean? Like, so I wasn't like, ooh, like, it was just like clearly somebody was trying to let me know she was there.
323-524-2599. You guys call in. Call in with your story.
Oh, we have to beg for the caller. Oh, it's fine with me.
You guys hurt Aidan's feelings.
I'm not hurt at all.
There are people
I could rattle on forever.
I know, but I can see that people are watching because I have the feed up here right now.
Who wants to talk about
They're being
ghosts?
shy.
So, no, it's true that you would feel a little like as I thought about all those, and the longest ghost story I had was that Ringling one, and there's specifics to that. Like, I saw some really clear stuff happening, and it was the first difference between that familiar experience I had with feeling my family's energy. I think I have a really strong family background of ancestors that are just bugging me all the time. They really are riding me.
Because you're so open.
It's exhausting. Right? But now I have an ever increasingly more of them.
Right.
And they're exhausting, all of them. But the ghosty guys, the Ringling guys, were just straight up carny ghosty.
Ew.
It was excellent. And so it's my whole feeling of and I love circus. I love, in fact, I did the whole Edison, and
Yes.
when I did, I was like, it was so going back to Ringling. You got to go to this Ringling Museum. I'm
No.
plugging it. Oh, you should go.
It's so creepy.
Oh, it's all ghosts full of who are just all nose and dick. Remember that ghost story I told you?
Yeah. Aidan one time regressed himself into another life.
A
past life as like basically Cro-Magnon man.
Yes.
And he just like
I couldn't
basically
describe him.
You were astral projecting pretty much into him, and he says he was just all nose and dick. Like he could smell sex and food, and then he would use his dick.
It was a great way to
For the
describe
food
him.
and the
And there's
sex.
plenty of guys like that now.
Exactly.
Fact. But I was just like, yeah, that was it. It was just all nose and dick. Those are the only two organs he's got. No brain, no ears, no eyes. Just all of it. It was a great body it was great for somebody to be in.
To experience.
Imagine that freedom of just being back then, like just being like, that was it.
I
Talk
don't-
about in the moment.
I don't feel free if I'm a female, and all there is just nose dick guys running around. I feel like
that might be great.
I guess.
I guess you'd have to be all ears and feet if there's nothing but eyes, nose, and dick coming at you. You'd have to be like, I am out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Ears and feet.
That's really how women are today, too.
That's right.
Guys are all nose and dick. Women are all feet and ears.
That's what I tell. When guys are like, "Why are girls so rude?" and I'm like, "Because we have been warned our whole life that we're going to be kidnapped any second now."
story. I
We
know.
have a caller, Aidan. All right. He's
Who's
so
about
excited.
to be kidnapped on a spiritual journey.
Hi, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, this is Cherry Hayashi. I'm calling from Japan.
Hi, Cherry. Thank you so much for calling in. I know Cherry.
From Japan?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cherry,
That's
you have a ghost story for us?
Yeah, actually, my daughter has been sensing my father, her grandpa, and for the last year or so. He passed away about 5 years ago, and I've been seeing the numbers 1010 everywhere on cars.
Oh, that's really cool.
What's that mean, 1010?
Well, 1010 is like singularity
Yeah,
and
that's
eternity.
his birthday.
Oh,
it's
okay.
his birthday. There we go.
Wow.
Wow. Do you think that's something he's trying to get across to you?
I don't know, but I think she's been going
message?
through her own, my daughter was his favorite granddaughter, and she's been going through, her own little teenage problems. And so I think he's sending the message that he's always with her.
Oh. And maybe also awakening her because she's gifted naturally, just like you are. You know, she has intuitive, perceptive skills just kind of naturally.
I see. Maybe he's trying to give you a break from that teenage daughter too. Ooh, I know how that goes.
Yeah.
I could use a ghost.
I wish.
I could use a ghost. It's putting a little skill
Yeah,
in.
she is gifted. We had our human design done, and she has got her crown chakra open, and so she is really sensitive. She can sense energy. So when we go to overseas to hotels, she can sense spirits, but she'll tell me, "Mom, there's something in the room," and then I'll just grab out my pendulum and I send it into the light, or do something like say leave the room or whatever, and then I can't sense the spirits. I can hear,
Wow.
but I can't sense them.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's all just sensing. So hearing is sensing. It's just, maybe you don't feel it in your body with your clairsentience or your emotional kind of physical body stuff is like your daughter does, but hearing them or seeing them, whatever. Aidan had the claircognizance that he received from his grandfather. So I think that's really cool. And I love that you brought that up, Cherry, that all you have to do is just really claim the space because, as I said earlier, the non-physical aren't supposed to be here, not in our way.
So what does that
it's
mean?
our domain.
Yeah, tell me about this pendulum, Cherry. So you swing, because I don't know what that is. Tricia does. So you just swing your
Okay,
pendulum.
well, I was taught in a different group. I teach an English school out of my home and in Japan, and I've got students, more than 150 students, and parents coming in and out of my home every week, and they bring different energies with them.
Yes.
And so I have to clear the room, so I hold a pendulum in each room, and I check, are there any negative entities in here, and if there are, I just envision them going into the light, and then the pendulum will stop and shake when it's done, and then I don't feel any more negative energies.
That's a brilliant technique. I
Yeah.
love it.
Right?
And also, like,
Is there anything, is that similar to like burning sage?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's using her
Her
own
own
claim.
energy.
Well,
Okay.
she's using her claim to her own space because they don't belong there. It's her
Okay.
space. She's of the physical realm. And as I'm saying, like what you're meant to do is be, if you are non-physical, is you're meant to cross over into the higher dimensionality. You know.
So it's fine to just push them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
I
your
get
space.
that.
They already
Yeah.
had their time.
Yes. And I've had Reiki.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's cool. Do you, so you feel like, I mean, it's in terms of he's a spirit. So this would be like a spirit. He's more of a spirit guide than a
grandfather.
ghost.
Yeah.
He's not knocking over lamps.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
like blowing in your ear or anything.
Well, right. She says that he's looking out
No,
for her
he's
daughter.
not doing anything negative, but my daughter senses him, and especially she's had a couple hard situations this year, and she says, I feel Grandpa with me, and I don't sense him. I says, well, he's there, he's protecting you, and he's your spirit guide, and she seems satisfied with that answer, and I think she's going to be a great light worker as well. I really feel that.
Cherry, I have a 14-year-old as well, and I wonder this all the time, and I certainly did when I grew up in a house full of girls, and I know that, do you think there's anything to, and historically we hear the Salem witch trials, all those things were 13, 14-year-old girls who might have been, do you think there's anything to that age range, having that extra affinity, that extra, because of what they're going through, having like a wider scope of, I don't know, vision?
Mm-hmm. Because of the pubescent age.
I don't know.
Being a teenage
yeah,
girl?
I don't know about that, but apparently we are in a previous life together, so we reincarnated in this life in a different form. I don't know if I was her sister or nanny or whatever, but we have been connected. And in this life, I think she is a light worker, and she's 20 right now. She's going on 21.
Oh, okay.
And I've just this year been into oracle cards and tarot cards and finding my own way and finding my own light. And she is really interested, and she has a good sense. She draws cards, and they seem always right on spot with the message she needs to hear. Whenever she happens to draw the cards. So it's kind of an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to seeing her growth. And I was raised in a Mormon family, so this is all, I mean, of course, that was just when I was younger in elementary school, but I don't go to church or anything like that, but this is all new to me, my own journey, and it's kind of an exciting time, and I'm sharing things with her and letting her know that her seeing Grandpa is not a scary thing. It's actually a good thing, and trying to encourage her and let her know that whatever she's feeling is a good thing and not negative in any shape or form.
Good
Wow,
for you.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, Cherry, keep up the good work with your own development and supporting your daughter. That's just amazing. You're making the world a better place by shining all that light. Thank you and thank you for calling in and sharing. Appreciate
From
it.
Japan.
Yeah, thank you. It's really nice to talk to you.
You too,
I'll see
Cherry.
you back in the animal group.
Yes.
Tricia.
Thank you so much, Cherry. She took my animal communication
Thank you,
class.
Aidan.
Thank you, Cherry. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Yeah, she took my animal communication class, so that's what she's referring to.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right?
We have a whole group of people that are practicing together. We have another call. But are we out of time, Aaron? Do we have time? You think we have time? Okay.
Let's
You wanna
do it.
Let's
We have
do
to
it.
do the caller,
Yeah.
even if we just close it down.
Okay. Hi there. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hello.
Tricia,
Yes.
Kelly.
Kelsey?
Kelly, how are you?
Oh, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. This is another friend of mine. How are you, darling? I know
Kelly, we're all my friends.
Kelly, I saw that you were. I almost called you out. It's so funny because we're linked. I was almost like, Kelly Halliger, I see that you're watching right now.
Yes.
And I know you're not
I
shy.
have a few stories, but I'm going to pick one from when I was actually, I think, 6 years old when my grandmother passed away. And it was late in the evening. And my mother had woke me up, took me over to my grandmother's house where she was dealing with all of the phone calls and the reaching out to the family and the minister. And she had put me in Graham's room to go back to bed while she was dealing with all of the death stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, her presence, so, I was feeling her clairsentience, felt my grandmother come in and sit on the bed, and she let me know that everything was fine, not to be upset, that she was taking care of everything. Then I kind of went back to sleep. And then, the next few days were chaotic, as, you would expect. So comes funeral viewing time, a little 6-year-old, the first death in the family that I had experienced at that time. And I was standing up at the casket somehow all by myself. I don't know how that happened, but I was up at the casket alone. And there was a little bit of moisture from the process that they do to the body alongside my grandmother's mouth. And I remember saying, she's not dead, and I'm saying this to myself in my head as a young one, like, she's got spit, she's just sleeping. And I heard my grandmother so clearly say, I'm not dead, I'm right here with you. I'm right here with you. And I, at that moment, was like, yeah, she's just sleeping, child not putting it all together.
Amazing.
Turned around and announced to the entire freaking funeral home that Grandma is not dead. She's right here. Her body's just sleeping, she said. Well, that's when all my stuff got shut down, because they scooped me up like I was a crazy person, shoved me down to the coffee room, and would not let me go back upstairs. Okay, they're like, get her out of here.
They're probably trying to protect you.
But I so clearly remember that feeling. She was right there alongside me. So whether she had not, I believe she had not yet crossed over. She was making sure we all got our shit together before she, exited this plane. But yeah, it was, as a young person, I did shut my stuff down after that. However, now that I'm woke, I can so take myself back to that cellular memory of being in that bedroom alongside her. Like, I was so at peace, and my mom was in the other room just bawling her eyes out trying to take care of the business, So that's one of my ghost stories.
Well,
that's really good.
That's really beautiful. I love that. And
I think that's like what I call a clean death. Whenever I feel it, my dad passed last year, and I can tell when that person, I don't know, and the people that have died around me, and I've had that's a nice clean death. Like, it's not, there's sadness and there's grief, and it doesn't even matter whether they're 100 or 10. There's sadness and grief, but if it's a clean death, they absolve you. It's like you can just, it washes over you, it's just the grief, and that's such a gift. Just a clean death. Like you got that. She gave you that clean death to me.
And she gave you a moment to as a benchmark for you to know that you're a light worker, that you're, a medium, that you're intuitive. Right. And now you're raising your daughter, Katie, right? Is that your daughter's name?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're raising
Katie
with that awareness. Tell her I said hi.
I would, Katie is 13, Aidan, and she is very much in tune as well.
Yeah.
And she has seen spirit. She has seen them in physical form here, on Earth. And now she's 13, and she's starting to fade out of it, and I keep trying to remind her she's connected. Don't forget what you've seen over the years, because we do tend to shut.
Well, yeah, I think that's natural too, that we spend some time diverting from that awareness so we can figure out the 3D, and then let the 3D be a tool for that awakened experience too. So yeah, I'm sure she'll come back to it, especially with you holding that space.
The physical body is very distracting at that age,
right?
Too.
No kidding.
So there's just so much going on. She does not need to be up in the stars.
True.
True. It's so funny to me when you think about a simple little village. I grew up again outside of Salem, and when that poor story is just a bunch of super batshit crazy 13-year-old girls in a village with no TV.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Everybody just turned on them.
Exactly.
They were like,
Goody Proctor sent the Satan to me, and that's why.
I would not want to be alone in a shack with no electricity with my 13-year-old.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story. That's really super cool.
That is cool.
I love experiencing that with you, too.
I think everybody, that's what I was saying, everybody can feel that. Thank you for calling. I feel like everybody can relate to that moment when, like, even people who are super naysayers or cynics, which I have been, nobody hasn't had that feeling of that tingle in the back of their neck, an odd feeling, something, this place is possessed, or they'd probably just say creepy or whatever. And it's not just physically like, oh, there's moss growing on the building. Like, you walk into even a motel room sometimes and you're like, I'm not alone in here.
Well, we are out of time. So thank you again, Kelly, for calling in. And I hope we'll talk to you again on another episode. And so we'll talk to you later. Thank you. And I want to tell you guys that we have our YouTube channel up now, and you can also find us on iTunes or iTunes.
The only technical term I learned about this whole process
was
which
RSS
was RSS feed.
Yeah,
we have one.
We have one. So do find us, like, subscribe, share, comment, and share with your friends, please. And you can join us live next week every week on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. You can find us by following us on @Enlightened AF Pod. All right, so we'll see you next week.
We'll explain it to people who don't understand all that.
What? That's it.
No, there's a tough technical stuff on the phone. On the
no,
Magic
there's
Box.
not. It's fine. People know how to
difficult.
do it. @Enlightened AF Pod, and we're on Instagram as well. So we will talk to you. We'll see you guys next week.